Exiled from her home, she became a maid discovering an incredible secret about the Duke. Lily stood on the outskirts of her hometown, a single bag slung over her shoulder, and it felt like her heart was being crushed under the weight of her family's disappointment. They had declared her selfish for wanting more than this small, dusty place, a town where dreams were buried like secrets in the cornfields. "You'll regret this," her mother had screamed, the words slicing through her like a hot knife. And maybe she would, but right now, she was furious and heartbroken. Returning home wasn't in her plans. But after being cast out, she had no choice. The glimmer of city lights had dimmed, and all she could see ahead were the dilapidated houses and judgmental stares of familiar faces. With a battered heart, she took a job as a maid at Duke Graves' lavish estate, a stark contrast to the chipped walls of her childhood home. The mansion loomed like a castle. Inside, chandeliers twinkled, and polished marble floors gleamed. It was beautiful, but also oppressive. With every dusting of the grand hall, a piece of her felt chipped away. And yet, she had to support Eddie, her younger brother, her anchor, who now fought hidden battles after serving overseas. Days passed, and Lily often caught sight of Duke Graves, a tall figure wrapped in the aura of wealth, gliding through his manor with a distant gaze. She could see the whispers around town when he visited, people scowled and pointed. They didn't know him. They didn't know the man behind the suit. But one afternoon, while scrubbing the floors, she overheard the Duke talking softly with his charity team about a local veterans program. "They need more support." He sounded so earnest, his brow furrowed in a way that showed he cared. In that moment, something shifted within her. The Duke wasn't just a wealthy man, he was someone who understood suffering, the kind that thrived silently beneath polished exteriors. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Torn between her growing admiration for someone her family would have labeled a snob and the sucking pull of familial loyalty, Lily felt dizzy. The bubble of change she was crafting around herself was far too fragile. What would her family say? And then, news broke like thunder through their quiet streets, a scandal involving Duke Graves. Shocked indignation gripped her town within minutes, accusing him of things she knew he couldn't possibly have done. As the whispers grew louder, she felt her loyalties tangle. Each day, she wiped tables and floors while questioning her own beliefs. Between loyalty and justice, where would she draw the line? And just when she thought she was beginning to find clarity, something from her past sparked like a fire, a name she had kept buried. Could she risk everything on a path that led to both freedom and despair? Hope flickered in her chest like a small flame, ready to ignite in the face of a storm. Lily was determined. Whatever happened next would redefine her life and perhaps even reshape her town, too. The days dragged on in a blur of polished floors and whispered judgments. Each morning, Lily woke early, the sun barely peeking over the horizon, as she mentally prepared for the day. The house was quiet, but the weight of unspoken words hung in the air. Eddie, restless and burdened, rarely spoke of his time away, keeping thoughts locked deep inside. Some mornings, she would catch him staring out the window, lost in a world that wouldn't let him go. Then there were the rumors about Duke Graves. Each evening, the townsfolk congregated at the diner, gossip swirling like smoke from a burnt-out ember. He's a monster, they claimed, a fraud beneath the fine suits. And yet, the more they vilified him, the more she felt compelled to defend him. "Maybe he's not what they think," she murmured one evening at home, tightening her grip on a once-faded apron. But Eddie turned to her, his blue eyes clouded with frustration. "Lily, how can you possibly defend him? We know nothing about the truth. You have to see it for what it is." His words echoed in her mind as she scrubbed the same spot on the floor over and over, trying to erase the grime that seemed to entwine itself with her thoughts. The more she learned about the Duke's efforts for the veterans, the more conflicted she became. How could he be so kind, yet be accused of such horrible deeds? It was a rainy afternoon when she dared to approach him. She found him in his study, a room filled with books and maps, each corner steeped in shadows. He looked up, surprised at her presence. "Lily, right?" The kindness in his voice was a fresh balm against her worries. "Duke Graves, I've been hearing things," she stumbled, hoping to find the right words. "About you, about the accusations." His expression hardened for a moment as if he were bracing against a tempest. "The truth has a way of twisting, doesn't it? You can't always trust what people say." For the first time, she noticed the pain beneath his calm facade, the weariness behind his eyes. "But you're trying to help the veterans," she pressed, her heart racing with confusion and newfound courage. "Why would they turn on you?" "Because they fear what they don't understand," he replied, leaning back in his chair. He paused, looking out the window as raindrops raced against the glass. "I'm just a man trying to do the right thing in a world that often punishes those who do." In that moment, Lily felt an unexpected connection. The weight of her own family's judgment fell away, replaced by something warmer. Maybe she could believe in him. Maybe there was hope within this chaotic swirl of accusations. As she left the study, a fire ignited inside her. She would not let her brother, or the town, be blinded by misjudgment. She gathered her thoughts, planning her next steps, determined to uncover the truth. But as she reached the door, she turned back. "Duke, if you need help, Lily," he interrupted, his voice steady, "the storm is just beginning. You should be careful." Those words hung heavy in the air. The fight for the Duke's honor had just begun, and she was about to step into uncharted waters. Could she stand against the tide? Emotions swirled within her as she left his presence, leaving her wondering if she had just crossed a line she couldn't uncross. Her resolve was firm, but the stakes climbed higher with every breath. Would her choice lead to redemption or ruin? And just as she reached for the door, her heart pounding, the sound of a crash echoed from the direction of the kitchen, followed by a muffled scream. She turned, the tension rising, a mystery unfolding right in her own home. What had broken, and who had been hurt? The air buzzed with urgency. Lily felt the ground shift beneath her feet. Whatever awaited her next, she was ready to embrace it head-on, face the storm. What would she find if she dared to brave the storm? Lily rushed toward the kitchen, her heart racing. The sounds echoed in her ears like a rallying cry. A mixture of panic and curiosity drove her forward. What had happened? A line of questions flooded her mind. Was Eddie involved? Was someone hurt? As she burst through the doorway, the sight before her stopped her cold. The table was overturned, dishes scattered like fallen leaves. There was Eddie, crouched on the floor, trembling. In front of him lay a broken vase, shards glinting sharp and dangerous. What happened? She gasped, her voice barely carrying over the chaotic scene. Eddie looked up, fear etched across his face. I didn't mean to. I was reaching for the milk, and I slipped, he faltered, his gaze dropping to the ground. Lily knelt beside him, her heart softening at the sight of his distress. It's okay. We can clean this up. She reached for him, touching his shoulder lightly. But we need to be more careful. As they gathered the pieces, the kitchen filled with a tense silence, the kind that settled in when words fell too heavy to express. Lily could feel Eddie's unease lingering, the shadows from the earlier conversation about Duke Graves weaving their way back into her mind. Did you hear me talking to Duke? Lily finally broke the silence, hoping to coax some truth out of her brother, but his shoulders tensed at the mention of the Duke's name. At the study? He replied, his voice quiet, filled with an uncertainty that tightened her chest. What does he want from you? He wants to help the veterans. He believes in something. She searched Eddie's eyes for any sign of understanding. But the town is against him. Or maybe they're right. Maybe he's the fraud everyone says he is. You should stay away from that man, Lily. Eddie's voice rose, a mixture of fear and protectiveness. Her heart sank at the warmth that had begun to blossom between her and Duke Graves, tangled now by her brother's outburst. I want to understand the truth, she countered, forcing herself to stay calm. What if we're wrong about him? Eddie ran a hand through his hair, visibly frustrated. You'll get hurt. People don't change, Lily. Don't put your trust in a stranger. The intensity of his words sparked something within her, a deeper resolve. She straightened her back and shook her head. I can't just accept what everyone says without knowing more. I owe it to myself to find out. Think about it, Lily, he pleaded, his voice softer now. What if he's using you? You've seen what whispers can do in this town. Yes, and I'm determined to fight against that. Her voice caught fire, passion igniting in her heart. Suddenly, a voice interrupted their exchange, strong, commanding. It was Mrs. Hargrove, the housekeeper. What's happening in here? Lily turned, and the grandmotherly figure's frown deepened as she surveyed the damage. You both need to be more careful. We're sorry, Mrs. Hargrove, Eddie said quickly, shame coloring his cheeks. He's just a little rattled, that's all, Lily added, hoping to ease the tension. As Mrs. Hargrove began to gather the shards, Lily's thoughts drifted. She wondered if standing up for Duke would ultimately mean standing up for herself against the town's judgment and her brother's wishes. But the stakes were rising, and she could feel the walls closing in. Lily, Mrs. Hargrove suddenly said, her tone turning serious, there's something I've heard about the Duke. You need to listen carefully. If you're going to get involved, Lily leaned in. What do you know? But just as the words left her lips, the door creaked open. A figure stepped into the kitchen, drenched from the rain, and shock coursed through her. It was Duke Graves himself, and the uncertainty in his eyes mirrored her own. What are you doing here? Lily stammered, her pulse quickening as the atmosphere thickened with tension. I need to talk to you, Lily. Now. The weight of the moment pressed down as she stood between her brother and the man the town had labeled a monster. Which road would she choose in the shadow of the storms that brewed around them? Did she have the strength to face both her brother's fears and Duke's truth? As the electric silence settled over them, Lily felt the storm closing in yet again. Would it wash her away or lead her to clarity? Lily felt the air grow thick around her as Duke took a step further into the room, shaking droplets of rain from his coat like a somber spell cast over the kitchen. Time seemed to suspend, and for a moment, all she could hear was the sound of her own heart, hammering against her ribs, each beat a reminder of the choices pressing down on her. Eddie, please, she said, turning her intensity toward her brother. Just hear him out. Eddie's jaw clenched, his body tense as if he held a shield against the man before them. You know what people say about him, Lily. You can't ignore that. Why are you letting gossip dictate your choices? She shot back, forcing herself to stay composed even though doubt curled like smoke in her chest. She looked back at Duke, whose expression was a mix of determination and resignation. I want to hear what he has to say, she breathed, feeling the weight of their stares. Duke met her gaze, his usual confidence seeming to waver for a moment. I came here for a reason, Lily. There are things you need to know about me, about why I'm in this town. Eddie stepped forward, blocking Duke's path. You don't have the right to talk to her. She doesn't know you like I do, he said, his voice rising again like flames licking at dry wood. Let him speak, she insisted, the tension in the air thickening. I deserve to make my own decisions. Duke, sensing the brewing storm, slowly raised his hands in a gesture of peace. Look, I understand your concerns, he said softly, his voice steady. But I was framed. Those rumors started because I wanted to expose the corruption in this town. Lily's brow furrowed, intrigued. Corruption? What do you mean? His eyes darted to Eddie, then back to her, as if assessing the risk of his words. I can't explain everything right now. It's dangerous, and I need you to trust me. Trust you? Eddie laughed, the sound bitter. Why would she do that? Because, Lily interrupted, feeling fire rise within her. I believe we're all more than the labels placed on us. She turned back to Duke, urging him with her eyes to continue. He took a breath, as if the weight of the world rested on his shoulders. I'm trying to do something good here, he said, with a vulnerability in his tone that tightened her throat. The veterans, they need help. But someone in this town is trying to stop me. Whoever has spread those lies wants to maintain control. They want to keep it hidden. Eddie crossed his arms, his skepticism palpable. And you think you're some kind of hero? Fighting against a ghost? Maybe I am, Duke replied, his voice rising with conviction. But I can't do it alone. I need people who are willing to see the truth. Silence enveloped them again, heavy with their uncertainty. What truth? Eddie challenged. What if you're just playing on her sympathies? Lily felt a rush of desperation, the intensity surging as she realized the crossroads they were standing at. I want to know the truth, Eddie. I can't walk away because of fear. A flicker of concern flashed across Duke's face as he studied her, a sense of understanding passing between them. It felt risky, standing at the edge of something unknown. But the fire that burned in her heart had always craved answers. Suddenly, Mrs. Hargrove emerged from the shadow of the doorway, the broom still in her hand, an eyebrow raised. If you plan to talk about secrets and shadows, maybe you should do it somewhere else. Lily's heart raced. This was becoming bigger than she imagined, both thrilling and terrifying. Duke nodded. We need a safe place to discuss this. Eddie, still wary, considered his options. You better not be lying, Duke. If you're dangerous. The moment hung in the air, fraught with unresolved tension. Lily sensed the path branching in front of her, each twist teeming with potential risks and rewards. Let me go with you, she said finally, her voice steady, despite the fear gnawing in her gut. I won't let fear dictate my choices anymore. With the storm brewing outside, each of them poised on the edge of uncertainty, they all knew one thing: a decision had been made, and it would change everything. What lay ahead would require courage, but for Firebrand Lily, it wasn't just about finding answers. It was about discovering who she was meant to be in a world that often felt like it was collapsing. As they moved toward the door, she couldn't shake the feeling that something significant was on the horizon. Would she uncover the truth behind the Duke, and in doing so, discover a piece of herself she had long ignored? As they stepped outside, the rain fell heavily, drenching the ground and pooling at their feet. The night was alive with the sound of stormy winds, a perfect backdrop for her turbulent thoughts. Lily felt adrenaline coursing through her veins as she walked beside Duke. Eddie lingered behind, still dubious, eyes narrowed as if watching a thief scuttle away. You're not serious about this, are you, Lil? He called, urgency lacing his voice. It's a bad idea. Stopping short, Lily turned and defended her choice. We can't live in fear, Eddie. I need to know what Duke is talking about. If there's corruption, it's bigger than the rumors. Someone is suffering, and I can't just turn my back. Duke glanced at her, a flicker of gratitude crossing his face, but the gravity of their mission weighed heavy on his shoulders. We should hurry, he urged. The longer we wait, the more risk there is. As they walked, the darkness encroached on them, and Lily lost herself in thought. Each drop of rain felt like a cleansing, washing away the doubts and fears that previously clung to her. Together, they moved deeper into the night, away from the safety of home, stepping into the unknown. Finally, they approached an old diner, lights flickering like a beacon in the night. It looked abandoned, but Duke insisted it was the best place to meet. Eddie hesitated again, digging his heels in like a stubborn mule. You want to trust him here? He argued, glancing around nervously. This is the only option we have right now. I can't do this without you, Lily pleaded, her heart pounding. Please, just come with me. With a resigned sigh, Eddie stepped forward, but the wariness etched into his expression never faded. Inside the diner, the air was thick with tension. Dust motes danced in the dim light. Duke motioned for them to sit at a booth near the back, shielding their conversation from prying eyes. Lily leaned in, her senses heightened. "Okay, Duke. Start talking. What's really going on?" He took a deep breath, wringing his hands as he settled into the booth. "There's been a string of unexplained disappearances among veterans," he began, his voice low but firm. "Police aren't doing anything because, well, they're in on it." Eddie's expression turned to one of shock, but Lily's heart raced with purpose. "What do you mean in on it?" "You mean they're silencing anyone who gets close to the truth," he replied, interrupting her. "But I can't just stand by and watch. I started digging, gathering evidence, and now it's like I'm being watched. Yesterday, I found this Duke pulled out a small flash drive from his coat pocket, placing it on the table with trembling hands. These files can prove everything, if we can get them to the right people." Lily's mind swirled. This was bigger than she'd ever anticipated. The weight of the flash drive seemed to pulse like a heartbeat, a secret they could uncover together. "Are you sure you can trust us with this?" Eddie asked, skepticism creeping back into his voice. "I wouldn't be here if I didn't," Duke insisted. "I need allies who aren't afraid to challenge this system." Lily's resolve hardened. "I'm with you, Duke. But we have to be careful. We're up against powerful people." Just then, the diner door swung open forcefully, a gust of wind rushing in, carrying footsteps like thunder. A figure entered, and suddenly the atmosphere shifted. Lily's stomach dropped. She could feel eyes on them, assessing, charged with unspoken threats. "Too late for secrets, Duke," came a gravelly voice, chilling her to the core. Lily shared a glance with Duke, nerves prickling as realization sank in. Danger was closer than they imagined. "Run!" Duke yelled just as the figure lunged forward. With their hearts racing, they scrambled from the booth, desperation driving them forward into the storm outside, the secrets of the night still beckoning from behind. What lay ahead promised discovery of truth and danger alike, and Lily knew now, she was poised for a fight that would test everything she believed. Could they escape the dangers closing in? And would the truth lead to freedom or chain them even more tightly? The pounding rain hit their skin like little needles, a harsh reminder of the urgency they faced. Lily's heart raced, her breath visible in the cold air as they sprinted into the downpour. Duke led the way, darting down an alley and glancing back over his shoulder, eyes wide with the adrenaline of near capture. Eddie followed closely, his earlier skepticism replaced with fear, the weight of the flash drive heavy in his pocket. "Where do we go?" Lily gasped, struggling to keep pace as they splashed through puddles. "Back streets. We need to find a place to regroup," Duke replied, his voice strained. "We can't just run blindly." Anxiety clawed at Lily's insides. This was how she envisioned this night would unfold. The thrill of adventure had quickly turned to panic. The world around them, once a familiar town, now felt foreign and dangerous, shadows dancing in every corner. They ducked into a narrow alley, its walls slick with rain. Lily pressed herself against the damp brick, eager for a respite. Duke's eyes darted around, scanning for any signs of pursuit. "We should be safe here for now." "Safe?" Eddie's voice shook, dripping with disbelief. "How can we be safe when they know we're involved? They could come after us again any moment." "Eddie, we have to think," Lily urged, trying to steady her racing heart. "Duke was willing to bring us in. That must mean we can do something with the information we have now." Duke nodded, his expression more serious than ever. "Exactly. They want to silence me because I'm onto something. But it could help so many people." As they caught their breath, the weight of their task settled over them again. "What's south on that drive?" Lily asked, breaking the silence. The question hung in the space between them, charged with potential. Documents about the disappearances, testimonies from other veterans who've gone missing. It's all there, Duke said, his voice dropping to a whisper. But we need to get it to someone who can act, someone who can expose this. What if we can't? What if we get caught first? Eddie's doubt surged back, morphing into something more desperate. Lily clenched her fists, her determination igniting. Then we fight. We owe it to those who can't anymore. We have to try. For a moment, silence enveloped them, broken only by the distant rumble of thunder. Duke reached for the flash drive, his hands trembling slightly. I wish I could say it's just about exposing them, he murmured. But someone needs to make sure these files don't go missing. Then let us find the right person, Lily affirmed, her resolve shining through the fear that had clouded her mind. Suddenly, a noise echoed down the alley. A clatter of boots on pavement sent Lily's heart stuttering. Move! Duke hissed, instincts kicking in. They fled farther down the alley, drawn deeper into the darkness, uncertainty pressing at their heels. Lily could hear the voices now, close and unnerving like a creepy lullaby. They can't have gone far. Someone shouted. What do we do? Eddie babbled, panic rising again. Just stick close. Duke replied, looking for any means of escape. Lily pulled her sweater tighter, scanning their surroundings for a way out. There. A door on the right, cracked open, beckoning her like a refuge. In there. She exclaimed, pointing. With no time to waste, they bolted for the door and tumbled inside. It slammed shut behind them, echoing in the dark room. They stood still, breathing heavily, their hearts racing as silence unfolded like a thick blanket around them. The air inside was heavy with moisture, and the dim light revealed more than they expected. This place had been a file room, but now it looked like a hidden archive filled with mismatched furniture and cardboard boxes. Lily's eyes narrowed. What if this is where they keep everything? She whispered. There's gotta be something we can use, Duke said, already moving to search the nearest box. Lily felt a tug of hope, the chance to uncover more evidence of the darkness lurking in their town. But she also felt an underlying pulse of fear. How deep did this corruption run? As they began sifting through the contents, Lily couldn't shake the feeling that they were teetering on the edge of something perilous. Would they uncover secrets that changed everything, or would they find themselves ensnared in a web darker than they could imagine? In the stillness, a sense of urgency surged through her. We have to be quick. They could catch wind of our whereabouts at any time, she warned, glancing toward the door they had just entered. Behind her, Duke's voice trembled slightly. And if they do, what's our plan then? Lily didn't have an answer. Tonight, they had stepped into a world that promised revelations, but also danger that could swallow them whole. Did they have what it takes to face it? As they combed through the documents, the shadows outside seemed to loom larger, threatening to engulf their mission. One thing became clear: change was looming, and this storm was just the beginning. Lily's heart thudded loud in her chest as Duke rummaged through the boxes, his hands moving with urgency. The dim glow of an old bulb barely illuminated the dust motes swirling around them. Blades of fear sliced through her, but she fought to keep her focus sharp. What exactly are we looking for? She whispered, trying to keep her voice calm. Anything that connects to the disappearances, Duke replied, not looking up. Bank statements, emails, records, anything that tells us what they're hiding. A flicker of determination crossed his face as he began to sift through a stack of files. Eddie leaned closer, eyes wide, fixating on a dusty box labeled confidential. Do you think, could those be related? He asked, his voice barely a breath. Lily felt a tremor of hope. It could be. Let us find out. She edged closer, fingers trembling as she reached for the box. Just as she was about to lift the lid, a noise cut through the air, a sharp thud coming from the door they just entered. Did you hear that? Eddie froze, all color draining from his face. Duke was already shifting into defense mode. We need to hurry, he urged, glancing nervously at the door. If they find us, we're done. Lily's heart raced faster. She opened the box, prying it loose from the years of grime that held it shut. Inside lay a pile of documents, neatly stacked. She rifled through them quickly, eyes scanning the words like a lifeline, and then she found it a report detailing a list of names. All veterans. All marked as missing. Her breath caught in her throat. "Duke, look!" she exclaimed, holding it up. Duke snatched the paper from her hands, and the tension in his expression morphed into something sharp, urgent. "This is it," he said through clenched teeth. "But we need more, we can't just have names, we need proof." As they hastily flipped through papers, Lily found herself hyper-aware of the ominous silence enveloping them. She felt like the walls were closing in. "We can't keep looking like this. We need to find something big enough to scare them if they come after us," she said, desperation creeping into her tone. "Like what? What would they value more than just burying this?" Eddie chimed in, now kneeling on the wet floor with papers sprawled around him. Duke glanced again at the door, tension tightening his jaw. "Information on the higher-ups. Clients, meetings, anything that shows it goes beyond just local disappearances." The sounds outside began to grow louder, footsteps crunching through the alley, voices layered with urgency. Lily's heart plunged. "They're actually here," she whispered, fear flooding her veins. "Just keep searching." Duke barked, glancing at Eddie, who was now visibly shaking. "We have to find something. Right now." Lily could feel the pressure mounting, the weight of the world resting on their shoulders. "Wait." She pulled out another document. "These are look, it's a financial record for a company that's tied to several politicians." Her hands shook with elation and dread as she realized the scope of what they had stumbled upon. "They're all connected," Duke exclaimed, scanning the document with renewed energy. "If we get this out, it'll blow the lid off everything." Then, the door rattled violently. A loud voice shouted from the other side, "We know you're in there. Come out with your hands up." Lily's stomach dropped. "They found us. Quick!" Duke whispered, urgency turning his voice razor-sharp. "We have to hide." Adrenaline pushed her into action. Papers flew in every direction as she helped Eddie scramble to shove the vital documents back into the box. They needed to conceal any evidence of their presence. The risk was too great. Just as they finished, the door burst open, light flooding into the dark room. 3 shadowy figures stood silhouetted in the doorway, scanning eagerly for any sign of movement. "What do we do?" Eddie hissed, adrenaline making it harder to think. Lily felt her breath hitch. "We wait and hope they don't come in." But as the intruders took a slow step forward into the room, Lily knew deep down that everything was about to change. Did they have what it took to fight back? As the shadows loomed closer, a thought struck Lily like a bolt of lightning. If they were caught, they couldn't just let the truth die with them. And in that moment, she made a choice. "We stay. We'll face them." The thrill of panic thrummed in the air, wrapped around them like a storm itself. Would they find the courage to stand their ground? Or would this be the last chapter in their story of uncovering the truth? The figures stepped into the room, the harsh light casting long shadows that danced across the walls. Lily's heart thudded again, not just from fear but from a fierce resolve. They couldn't back down now. "Stay quiet," Duke whispered, his voice barely a murmur. He placed a finger to his lips, eyes darting between the newcomers and Lily. She could practically hear the pulse of her own heartbeat, a thunderous echo in an otherwise still room. The first figure, clad in dark tactical gear, stepped forward, surveying the scene with a predatory gaze. "I know someone else in here," he called out, the authority in his voice palpable. The other 2 moved in behind him, forming a triangle that made it clear they weren't going anywhere without a fight or an answer. Lily felt a prickling sensation rising along her arms. She squeezed the stack of documents against her chest, willing her breathing to stay shallow, making her feel like a deer ready to bolt. What if they noticed something amiss? "Look over there." One of the shadows shouted, pointing toward a flickering light bulb overhead. "It's too quiet." Duke leaned closer to them, barely able to suppress a gasp. "They're going to start tearing this place apart," he warned, panic creeping back into his voice. "We have to do something." "Like what?" Eddie whispered, eyes wide with terror. "We can't just jump out and scream. That'll get us killed. Maybe we can distract them." "Just long enough to slip out," Lily said, her mind racing. Desperation often brewed brilliant ideas. She could use the chaos against them. "Wait for them to get close," Duke instructed. "Then we bolt for the door when they're distracted." The intruders were moving now, scanning every corner, every crevice. They seemed to fuel off the tension filling the air. One of them turned, directing their gaze toward Lily, and she felt her stomach twist in knots. This was it. They were out of time. "Hey! You!" The voice rang out, sharp and icy. "Why don't you just come out and make this easier?" Lily swallowed hard. Suddenly, her mind flashed to all the reasons they had fought this hard to expose the truth. If they were caught, it wouldn't just be over for them, it'd mean the missing veterans would remain shadows, their stories lost forever. Taking a breath, Lily forced herself to step forward, breaking the desperate hold of silence. "What do you want?" she called out, surprising even herself. Anger and defiance drenched every syllable. The leader's brow furrowed. "Who are you?" he asked, almost intrigued. "I'm not part of whatever you're doing, but if you're looking for answers, they're not in this room." She shot back, her heart dancing between fear and determination. Duke glanced at her, wide-eyed. "Lily, what are you doing?" he hissed, but it was too late to back down. "Why don't you come and find out?" she added, her voice steady now. "I'll lead you right to it." The figures exchanged glances, surprised, and Duke's eyes went wide. He seemed to understand her gamble. Eddie bit his lip, horrified. "What if no time for what-ifs?" Duke said, his voice suddenly confident. "Lily, if you're in this, I'm with you." Lily locked eyes with him, a surge of loyalty swelling in her chest. They had gone too far to falter now. Just as she prepared to step back, to lead them away from the documents, she heard the unmistakable sound of boots crunching closer. "Make your move, girl," the leader quipped, a smirk playing at the corners of his mouth. "But we have eyes everywhere." With a surge of adrenaline, Lily took a step back, her heart racing faster than it ever had. Turning on her heel, she said, "Follow me then." As she sprinted toward the door, forcing herself not to look back, knowing that Duke and Eddie would follow, fueled by determination and fear, outside awaited chaos, but within that chaos lay their chance. Would they manage to turn the tide, or would the shadows from the past consume them all? A cacophony erupted from the alleyway, and Lily's heart raced not just with fear, but with the thrill of possibility. They had a chance to uncover more than they ever imagined, and they would need every ounce of courage and cunning to claim it. As she stepped out into the dim light, ready to take on whatever fury awaited them, a chilling question threaded through her mind: would the truth set them free or bury them alive? The moment Lily stepped into the alley, a whirlwind of sounds assaulted her ears. Sirens wailed in the distance, people shouted, and the air was thick with the smell of diesel and something burnt. It felt like stepping into a storm, chaos swirling all around, but her focus remained on one thing: they needed to get away. Duke and Eddie were immediately at her side, adrenaline pumping through their veins. "Where do we go?" Eddie gasped, looking around wildly. He was a bundle of nerves, eyes darting from corner to corner. "Just keep moving," Lily urged, her voice steady despite the chaos surrounding them. "We need to find somewhere safe." They bolted down the alley. Shadows loomed over them, but she didn't dare look back. Each step echoed the urgency thrumming in her chest. She could almost feel the watchful eyes of their pursuers on them, fingers itching for the trigger of whatever weapons they possessed. "Take a left," Duke shouted as they approached a fork. Without hesitation, they veered left, hoping to lose their pursuers in the maze of old buildings. The alleys were tight, the walls looming over them like giants. Every footstep seemed to carry a weight of desperation. Over here. Eddie pointed toward a nearby door, worn and faded but still standing. Maybe we can hide inside. Without a second thought, they rushed to the entrance, pushing it open just a crack. It creaked ominously, and for a brief moment, panic flared in Lily's stomach. But necessity drove her forward, and they slipped inside just as the sounds of running boots approached. The interior of the building, dark and musty, wrapped around them like an old blanket. They paused, catching their breath, hearts pounding louder than the distant chaos. "What now?" Duke whispered, his voice trembling. Lily pressed her hand against the cool, peeling wall, her mind racing. They needed to act fast. "We figure out how to get to the truth. We can't stop now," she insisted, wanting to infuse strength into her words. Eddie, still breathing hard, looked around the cramped space. "But how? They'll find us here." "No," Duke interjected, his gaze sharpening with resolve. "If we can get to the archives, the ones hidden in the basement, we can uncover everything. All the names, all the connections." Lily felt a surge of hope. Yes. Those files, they could expose everything. But we have to be careful. If we leave, they'll be searching for us. "That has to be our next move," Duke replied, his determination igniting the spark within Lily. "We can't let fear hold us back." Just then, the door rattled, and Lily's heart leapt into her throat. Heavy boots echoed down the corridor outside, and she could feel the terror wash over her, icy and real. "We need a distraction," Eddie said, his voice rising. "Hurry." Panic swelled through Lily, but she pushed it aside. "Eddie, can you make a noise from the side door over there?" she directed, knowing they couldn't give up now. Eddie nodded, glancing toward a front window. "I can try, maybe throw something." With a sudden sense of clarity, Lily rummaged through her bag and spotted an old canister she had picked up off the ground earlier. "Use this," she urged, tossing it to him. Eddie nodded, his breath quickening. He glanced at Duke and Lily, gathering his courage. "On three," he said, clenching his fist around the canister tightly. 1, 2. The door shuddered again as the prowlers outside pushed against the weight. Lily could practically hear time ticking away, and her heart raced. "Now!" she shouted, the urgency breaking through the fragile silence. Eddie hurled the canister, and it clattered and rolled into the open hallway, emitting a loud clanging. In that instant, the sound sliced through their tension, drawing the attention of everyone outside. "Go! Now!" Duke yelled, pushing Lily forward, adrenaline surging through every step. They rushed towards the side exit, where the noise had drawn the hunters away. Heart in her throat, Lily led the way, breaking into the fresh air once more. But as they emerged from the secondary building, a chilling sight stopped them in their tracks. A car was parked ominously at the alley's end, its headlights glaring like a predator's eyes. Would they run straight into the hands of their enemies, or could they turn the tide and rally their strength to uncover the truth? Every decision now felt like a gamble, and as they overlooked the looming darkness, one thought etched itself in Lily's mind: what would they risk to uncover the past? The night was still ablaze with chaos, but within that storm lay the heart of a battle Lily never expected to face. She stood there, breathless, her heart racing even faster as she caught sight of the car parked at the alley's edge, ominous and inviting all at once. Instinctively, fear gripped her stomach. "What do we do?" Eddie hissed, panic reflected in his eyes. "We need to find a way around it," Duke replied, his expression sharpened with determination. "There's gotta be another way." But as they turned to slip back into the shadows, laughter echoed down the alley, taunting, cruel. A murky darkness lurked within the laughter, a reminder of how vulnerable they had become. "You're not getting away that easy," a voice shouted, sending chills down Lily's spine. "Keep moving," she urged, and they darted back the way they came, desperation fueling every step that in that frantic moment, Lily found clarity amidst the panic. They had the flash drive. It was their lifeline, a thread between them and the truth that could bring the darkness to light. "We can't let them take this from us," she breathed, determination reborn. They raced through narrow passages, skirting the corners of buildings that seemed to close in around them with every turn. The adrenaline surged, blending fear with a fierce kind of hope. Lily knew they could uncover the truth, they had to. As they approached a corner, she spotted a flickering light ahead, a sign of life, or maybe a shelter. "There." She pointed. "An old cloakroom. We can hide there." They sprinted forward, slipping inside just as a set of heavy footsteps rounded the corner. The tight space enveloped them in darkness, and Lily pressed herself against the cool wall, her heart thumping loud in her ears. "Stay quiet," Duke murmured beside her, his body tense, ready to spring into action. Minutes passed like hours. The tension hung thick in the air until finally, the sounds of pursuit faded. They exhaled in unison, relief flooding through their veins. "Now what?" Eddie whispered, his voice barely above a breath. "We can't just stay here forever." "Give me the flash drive," Duke said, his agility re-emerging as he reached for Eddie's pocket. "We need to think. Let us find a way to protect its contents and reach someone who can help." "Who can we trust?" Lily's voice was laced with concern. The police are in on it," Duke interjected, urgency cutting through their uncertainty. "But we might find someone who isn't. There has to be independent journalists or advocacy groups that can take this information and run with it." Lily felt the terror begin to ebb, replaced by a flicker of daring resolve. "Right. Let us plan our escape and figure out how we can get this flash drive to people who care about the truth." As they emerged from the cloakroom, the street felt different, as if the very air had shifted. Despite their challenges, the night bristled with possibility. "We need to find a way to the other side of town without being seen," Duke instructed. "If we can get past this blockade." But just then, a set of headlights flicked on nearby. The headlights swerved towards their alley, illuminating the darkness where they stood. They scrambled for cover. "Duke!" Lily gasped, her heart racing again as she pressed back into the shadows. "Stay close," he whispered urgently, signaling them to slip into a smaller pathway leading deeper into the town's heart. As they ran, Lily's determination surged like wildfire. Each step brought them closer to freedom and the truth. They slipped through a maze of alleys, old storefronts, and broken dreams, until they stumbled upon a dimly lit cafe that appeared to be open late. Its neon sign buzzed weakly, flickering like a heartbeat. "This is it," Lily said, her voice laced with urgency. "Let us go inside." They rushed in, their hearts pounding in their chests. Inside, the air was thick with the comforting scent of baked goods and coffee, but the atmosphere felt charged, like a rubber band stretched to its limit. "Anyone know how to reach out to someone who can help?" Duke asked the barista, a tall woman with glasses perched on her nose who was wiping down the counter. She regarded them curiously but with a knowing look in her eye. "I might know a place," she replied, her tone serious. "But you'll need to trust me completely." "Whatever it takes," Lily affirmed, pulling the flash drive from her bag. "We have to do this." As they huddled together, exchanging hurried explanations, the door swung open, and the shadows of their pursuers loomed on the threshold. The momentary relief turned to alarm as dread also gripped the barista. She stepped forward, determination etched in her features. "In the back!" she shouted. "Now! Go!" Duke urged, urgency surging in his voice. With no time to waste, they fled toward a door marked staff only just as the intruders yelled for them to stop. They dashed into the back room, the heart of the cafe feeling like a refuge against the storm. Inside the muffled space, the barista pulled them aside and quickly moved to a hidden door. "Follow me. You'll be safe at least for now." As they stepped inside, the rush of adrenaline pushed against Lily's resolve. Putting the pieces together was no longer just a plan, it was the path of their lives. They were here to uncover the truth and fight against the darkness that preyed on their town, and as they descended deeper into the cafe's hidden passages, the light began to glow brighter ahead. It felt like stepping into a new beginning. The possibilities were endless, and together, they could finally bring the hidden secrets into the light. Lily knew one truth now: they would not just fight for themselves. They were on a mission to save their community, to show that strength didn't just lie in silence, but in the courage to stand up and break through every barrier. "Let us take them down," she breathed, igniting the fire within them all. And that was when she realized, despite everything, they were no longer hiding from the shadows. They were ready to unleash the storm. As they moved forward together, the dark night whispered its promise of change, and they walked into their future together, unyielding, undaunted, as defenders of the truth. This is the moment you need to embrace your own journey. Subscribe immediately to this channel to ensure you never miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support makes a real difference. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this thrilling ending, and share instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see how transformation starts with courage. Don't wait not even one more second to share. True fans know the importance of standing together in this community. Show your support.